The Ain't No Fang podcast. From Arizona Sports, Ain't No Fang.
Hello and welcome to Ain't No Fang, Arizona Sports' Diamondbacks podcast, coming to you a few minutes after the game against the New York Yankees wrapped up. Alex Weiner, Ali Nerini, and Ali, that was one heck of a ball game. It started off with us being excited about, all right, Corbin Burnes is making his Diamondbacks debut. What is that going to look like? And, of course, we end it with some fireworks at the end of the game with Eugenio Suarez. And we figured out who's going to get the first save of the season. So there's a lot to get to. Gino or Corbin, who would you like to start with?
We'll start with Corbin first.
Okay.
Yeah, let's go ahead. I think he, as much as what you can anticipate for a first start, I got him as, for a third inning. He looked good those first two innings. He really looked good. Had 1, 2, 3 first and second inning. And I liked where his location was at. I noticed some cutters in there that were looking pretty good.
It was like 66% cutter.
Right,
yeah, he
yeah.
was really relying on his main pitch. But you're right. Really dominant those first couple of innings.
Yeah. And, so I think it's just going to get progressively better, I think, over time. Of course, it's just the whole situation with the Gallon, the opening day, and then having to move him, to the fifth start position. But I liked what I saw from Corbin. I don't know. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, first two innings. So he comes in, strikes out the first two batters that he faces. He gets Paul Goldschmidt and Cody Bellinger, and then he gets Aaron Judge to. What does he fly out the first inning, pop it out, something like that? I think it was a pop-up. Next inning, Jazz Chisholm just freezes him on this curveball that hits the outside edge, and you're right about the location because he was really dotting the corners. Umpire had a little bit of a wide zone, and he was really taking advantage of that. And then he runs into a little bit of trouble with home runs. Jason Dominguez got him for one, and then Anthony Volpe got him for another one.
Yeah.
So it wasn't perfect. I called it kind of like a mixed bag.
Yeah.
I'd say it was mostly pretty positive. He got a lot of swing and miss, struck out 8 batters, but just a couple of pitches there that the Yankees were able to get a barrel on.
Yeah.
And then the defense, again, we have a big moment that really cost them. We saw that throughout the first series. It's not something we're accustomed to with this team.
Yeah.
But, it looked like he was going to get out of a jam there unscathed. 2 on, 2 outs, gets this little roller, and Naylor, I have to go back and watch it exactly what happened. It just looked like he sailed the flip.
Yeah, it looked like it was just a little bit of a, kind of missed throw on that, yeah.
Yeah, it just looked like he sailed the flip a little bit, and, just, again, this team...
Yeah.
They got to win these margins in order to win these games. Ultimately, they did win the game anyway,
Right.
But that certainly put them in a bit of a tough bind. But yeah, now that the first weekend, like, oh, who's starting opening day? What does that mean for Burnes now? Now that all that is over, we enter this new stretch where it's going to be Burnes, Gallon, and Kelly, and that's how it lines up, and that sets them up pretty well for the rest of the week.
Yeah, I was listening to another show, baseball talk show that talked about how the D-backs, it's just this first series, this first run of the first 5 starters, because then after that teams are going to be hit with Burnes, Gallon, Kelly, so at that point it's going to be a threat to a lot of teams with that 1-2 punch basically.
Yeah, so now we've had 5 games, we've had 1 run through the starting rotation, and it's a little bit up and down, I think, compared to a lot of expectations, but this is a rotation that's still expected to be one of the 5 best in baseball. Gallon, 4 runs in 4 innings in his first start. Kelly, I thought, was really good, kind of battled through some traffic early in that game. I think it was 5 1/3 with 1 earned run. Fought really good, except for, got burned on 1 home run, but 6 innings, 3 runs, a quality start. And Erod, kind of similar. I thought he was really good, except for a couple of pitches he left over the plate that they were able to take advantage of. That was 5 1/3 and 3 earned runs, right, I believe, something like that. Yeah. So ultimately, it was 25 innings and 13 earned runs for the starting rotation. It's like a 4.6 something ERA, which is not great, but it's first time through, and ultimately, I think the stats are a little bit worse than the performances that we saw from them. So that's what we got. So next round starts tomorrow with Zach Gallen on the hill against the Yankees. We have to talk about Gino, though, because that was what he's been doing has been pretty incredible.
He doesn't need a torpedo bat.
No, apparently does not need the torpedo bat to keep hitting home runs. He's got 5 hits, and they're all homers this year.
Right, yeah. And
that's incredible.
A big one today, obviously, with the grand slam that came in the 8th inning. So, yeah, he's looking really sharp out there with the bat. So
yeah, I mean, you go into the 8th inning, the Diamondbacks really couldn't get a whole heck of a lot going offensively. They had 1 hit to that point, a couple walks, but the Corbin Carroll home run earlier in the game, his first of the year, was all that they had in terms of hits. And they finally build an inning. They get a run. It's 4-3. They have the bases loaded with 1 out, and then Josh Naylor strikes out. And then Suarez, swings and misses at a sinker over the plate, and it's 2-2, and it's like, oh no, they cannot let this opportunity slip. And then they don't, because Suarez gets a splitter from Mark Leiter Jr., and he just clubs it to left field. I thought for a moment Cody Bellinger might have had a shot at bringing it back, but he does not. So for Suarez, again, 5 hits, 5 home runs. He was NL Player of the Week for the opening weekend. Judge was AL Player of the Week on the other side, so it was kind of cool that they matched up against each other. And ultimately, in those moments, I think Judge was pretty quiet offensively in this game. He struck out a few times.
Yeah, he went he struck out twice, and went 0-for-3. 0-for-4.
0-for-4 with a couple strikeouts. And then Suarez had the big moment where he came through in the clutch. So it's good to see him continuing to build off of that momentum that he had last year, because it really felt like it was a struggle to get him out in the second half of last season. And now, that power trip has continued.
Yeah, it's nice to see that they, especially with that grand slam, they executed on two back-to-back walks, actually. So, that's just them taking advantage of situations when, with the Yankees, they had the solo home run later in the game, basically in the 9th inning, and really they didn't make much out of their scenarios that they had with runners on and stuff like that. But yeah, I feel like it's the timely hitting is happening with the D-backs, which is really good.
Yeah, back-to-back 8th innings where they just blow up. I mean, 8 runs against the Cubs in the 8th inning in that last game, and then 5 runs in the 8th inning tonight. And, we got, the first save opportunity of the season for the Diamondbacks, and we know they're going to match up, and it worked out pretty perfectly well, where Martinez gets the 8th inning and looks just flat-out dominant.
Yeah, that's the ideal pitcher that you want to see happen,
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he comes in, he strikes out Aaron Judge on a splitter. I think it was Chisholm, and then it was Volpe. Just blow him away with fastballs up in the zone. I mean, he looked unhittable in that inning. And then you bring in A.J. Puck with a trio of lefties. Wasn't perfect. He gave up the home run to Ben Rice, but ultimately he picks up the first save of the season, and so that's what we're rolling with now.
Yeah, and like with the Jamar, he had that strikeout, Volpe on in the 8th inning with 101 mile per hour. So that's
I think it was like Chisholm and Volpe, 101, 101.
It was struck out the side basically. Yeah, that's what he did. So that's a perfect scenario to have is J-Mart come in the 8th and then Puck close it out in the 9th if you want to do the closer. It's a good way to see who might possibly be our closer now.
Yeah, I mean, they're still, I think, going to match up, but it was like, if you're tallying, it's like, how are these guys doing in these moments? All right, J-Mart's looked really good. Puck has looked pretty good, but then had that one pitch to Rice that he was able to get a hold of. So there'll be plenty more opportunities early on in the season to see how that whole thing shakes up. But yeah, so far for Corbin Burnes, a lot of good, a couple of mistakes here, a defensive, blunder kind of cost him a little bit, but ultimately I think pretty good. And then for Gino just to keep doing what he's doing was pretty incredible to watch. So just wanted to get you guys some, quick reactions after a pretty exciting ball game over in the Bronx. So Diamondbacks Yankees continues. It'll be Zach Gallen on the mound on Wednesday, and then Merrill Kelly on Thursday, and then the Diamondbacks will head over to Washington to play the Nationals. So keep it locked in on Arizona Sports for all things Diamondbacks as we continue this first full week of Major League Baseball.